So I don't think they realize.
You guys ready? I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adequate notice of this meeting was advertised in the Asbury Park Press on April 8th, 2025, and by posting this notice in the Forked River Post Office and the Lenoka Harbor Post Office, and by filing a copy of notice with the Lacey Township Clerk as required by the Open Public Meeting Act. Roll call, please.
Mr. Armato?
Here.
Mr. Peters?
Present.
Mr. Bell?
Here.
Mrs. Armato?
Here.
Mrs. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Conity?
Here.
And Mrs. Claus?
Here.
Okay, we're going to go into private session. Be it resolved, an executive session be convened for the purpose of discussing confidential legal matters. The subject matter of this discussion will be disclosed to the public when the reason for confidentiality subsides. The length of the executive session is estimated to be approximately 30 minutes, after which the board shall reconvene and proceed with business at 6:30 and action will be taken. Motion?
Motion Peters.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, we're going to resume the meeting. We're now going to turn it over to Ms. Ormsby for her presentation. And Mr.
I have a microphone today.
Oh, you have a mic? Okay.
Well, I went to a workshop and the woman said that, you're really not understanding the audience if you don't speak through a microphone. I've been talking in this lecture hall for a really long time, and usually it's pretty good acoustics. This is a pretty good civics lesson tonight that we're all participating in our democracy. As a career-long social studies teacher, I do appreciate that no matter what we talk about tonight. We are here tonight. So we're going to do a lot of plain talk tonight. I think Sharon's pretty good at that. As a business administrator, I think those who know me say I'm pretty good at that. I'm going to present, with a lot of Sharon's help, we're going to present an amended tentative budget tonight. Our original tentative budget that was approved by this Board of Education was rejected by our state executive county business administrator. They felt that the land sale line that we put in there was inappropriate. And the state, in the meantime, has changed the rules. The state has opened up an application process that allows districts, with board approval, of course, that allows districts to summarily raise taxes beyond the 2% statutory cap. Okay, what we're going to do and explain for a few minutes here is what that looks like. That will still go to a vote to the Board of Education. Everybody has a resolution. I printed them tonight because I wanted everybody to be able to have it, to see what it looks like, to be able to read it, to be able to touch it a little bit. This is a regular board meeting, so of course there'll be public comment, and you can speak to that effect, and you can also speak to the slideshow that we present. Okay, just remember that at the end of this, there will be a vote on this amended budget. Okay, but as Chief School Administrator for the Lacey Township School District, okay, I have requirements. Part of my requirements is to keep trying to get a tentative budget. It's statutorily required. I will keep trying until either I get one or somebody steps in and tells me that I'm not going to have one and we're going to do something different. Okay, so we're going to give Sharon our full attention right now. Okay, I'm always a teacher at heart. It's the way it is. I'm sorry. Okay, and I will interrupt her at various stages of the process. Thank you, Ms. Ormsby.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So we are going to talk about the budget again. So we're going to start with pretty much the same slideshow. We're going to go through everything again. So we're going to talk about how badly we've been hurt by these cuts that the state has imposed on us.
Sharon, can you
Just go
talk a
closer to
little
the mic
louder?
a little bit so they can hear in the far side.
Thank you.
So we can't say it enough how devastating these cuts have been for the Lacey Township School District. $14 million over 7 years has been drastic. That's a 66% reduction over 7 years. And we've only seen a 10% reduction in enrollment in that time period. And then you sprinkle in some inflation over that time period when it's been at high of 7% in some years. And that's attributes to the high utility bills, increase in insurance premiums, as well as tuition, transportation, and then other expenses as well. That's hurt us a lot. We can't sustain these kinds of increases, and then these reductions in state aid. The district has done an impeccable job to keep costs low during this time, and we continue to balance our budgets, especially when the state gave us no mechanism to raise revenues at the same rate that they were cutting our revenue. Just in the last 3 years, 2022, 23, 24, and 24, 25, they cut our aid more than $10 million, which was half of what our aid was in 18-19. In 2018-19, our aid was $21 million. In 24-25, it was down to $7 million. That's a huge cut.
There's a note there too, because you're looking at that slide, which we're going to repeat later on. When you look at those large cuts, we were also able to stay within our 2% statutory cap, making cuts, making efficiencies, creating efficiencies all over the district. So you can add up those numbers all you want, and we lost any kind of COVID aid probably end of last year.
Yeah.
So that also wiped out the rest of our COVID aid. So through good fiscal management, we're able to hold serve in all of those years. And as you'll see in a later slide, that will eventually catch up to you. Okay, especially when the state's offering you no extra aid, which will be extra in later slides. Thank you.
Right. And I just want to note some of the things that we've done over the past few years. We made a health insurance change that a few years ago that saved us $2.1 million over a 2-year period. We redistricted, which created efficiencies that allowed us to reduce 34 teaching staff, saving the district approximately $3 million. We added pre-K, which has added revenue and saved about 10 teaching positions, as well as allowed us to allocate general fund revenue to that program in the amount of $981,000. We also brought special education students back in the district to programs we have or we've created for them. We created transportation routes for out-of-district students, saving over $500,000 by canceling expensive private bid routes with vendors. We also created co-op partnerships with other districts for sports, which brings revenue to our district. So here's our tentative budget, basically the same that you saw last month. The operating budget went up about $600,000. That was just to add in curriculum that we found that we needed between the tentative budget we presented and then this amended tentative budget. All right, the property tax levy. So this, again, basically the same at the top part. What we're going to go over, you have the 2% increase, which is $1.1 million on the tax levy for this school year into next school year. So $58 million, so it's $59 million. The debt service property tax levy is $2 million, which is a decrease of 24%. We have a health waiver that we're utilizing for next year of $1.4 million. Now, in order to apply for this tax levy incentive, we have to use our bank cap, which we weren't originally using, which is $104,000. The tax levy incentive that we're applying for is $6.6 million, or that we're hoping to apply for if the board approves, $6.6 million. That would be 12.24% increase on the tax levy. Total net increase would be 14.24% on the tax levy.
So this slide really dives right in. It's like hitting you like a sledgehammer. Everybody just look at that for a moment. Okay, the state, because they've shorted us for so long, for so many years, we have a deficit, which was the original deficit that we had in our last presentation. It's basically the same number. It did come up $600,000 due to a missing piece of curriculum. That would be K to 8 ELA and high school math. Okay, all of those curriculums, those materials have expired. Okay, but this really dives right into our problem and shows you what the resolution in front of you is about. It's about this application, not necessarily raising the taxes, but it's an application to bring us to balance, to bring us to a balanced budget. It's ugly numbers. And we're going to show you later what the average increase on an average home would look like. It doesn't get any better. I'm not going to sugarcoat any of this. Okay, the state says that we are $17 million short overall in what we should be spending in the state of New Jersey. $17 million. That would be really crazy. That's about a 30+% increase in 1 year of taxes. It is shame on them for putting this on us in such a short period of time. Shame on them. Shame on making the board have to debate it. Shame on you having to deal with it. Shame on all of that. I kind of just take it. All right? So this slide really dives in to what the problem is, to the only solution that the state's offering up right now. There's a lot of bouncing balls out there. Okay, you can read the paper every single day. Plainfield, 39%. Middletown, 10%. Toms River, 15%. They're voting on theirs tonight. Okay, all those different things as part of this application. It doesn't mean that we're going to raise the taxes, but sure as heck, that's the number that the state wants the taxes to come up. Let's be real. Okay, if we don't approve this tonight, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but this is really the slide that drives it all home. To balance our budget, we need 14.2, social studies teacher, 14.24% okay, on the tax levy.
So here's the revenue breakdown. So for now, we've put the $6 million under other aid because the application hasn't been submitted or approved. So we're not putting it into the tax levy yet. So it still shows the 3.15% increase on the tax levy like we showed you last time. Same breakdown in all the other categories as last time. For a total budget of $88 million. Here's our appropriation breakdown. Got $50 million for salaries, which that is a 0% raise for everybody. We have no raises built in. Benefits up 18%, which is a little over $3 million. Natural gas and electric up 25%. Property and casualty insurance up 25%. Out of district tuition at $2.2 million. Athletic and co-curricular at $334,000, and that doesn't include their salaries. Their salaries are included up in the $50 million. Transportation at 1.4, their salaries are also not included. That's included up in the $50 million. And then everything else, that went up $600,000 from the last time for the curriculum that we added.
It was an interesting conversation we had just the other day. If we didn't have such a high benefits increase, which again is controlled by the state of New Jersey, we're going to need a state plan next year. Okay, if we didn't have that giant number, and we had not been forced to drain down our stuff in the last 7 or 8 years, all of our savings, if we weren't forced to do that, we actually would be holding serve right now. We wouldn't need to do what we're asking to do tonight. We wouldn't need to do any of those things if it wasn't for these extraordinary things controlled by the state where they're out of control. $3.2 million in benefits increases controlled by the state of New Jersey. That's every one of the states in the state plan, where we have no choice to be in the state plan, as many districts are.
Well, right, so as of July 1, we're going back into the state plan because our private insurance, the lowest rate increase they would give us was 29%.
Right, and we're not going to allow that.
Right. Here's a diagram of our expenditures. General fund expenditures over a 10-year period. You can see that it's pretty much been flat. We had a little dip in 23-24, but we've been pretty much steady over the past 10 years with our expenditures that we've been maintaining, which I think is pretty impressive.
We're outperforming inflation.
Right. You know,
on the good side.
Up until this year, or for next year, for 25-26, that's the first spike. So over a 10-year average increase of 1.58%, that's pretty impressive, I think. You know, I think that shows that we've been fiscally responsible. We've kept expenses low. We've kept taxes low. But, you know, unfortunately, this is just something that we just can't sustain any longer with the increases in expenses that we're seeing. These are the reductions. This hasn't changed from last time. 3 certified positions, 3 full-time paras, a custodian. We're moving some duty aids and lunch aids to our cafeteria fund, technology reductions. These are, needed laptops, for the students that we're going to have to put off to the future, supplies, and then services. So this is the property tax breakdown. If we were to do the 14.24% increase, it would be 1.72 tax rate. This is how you figure out your property tax rate on your house. You take your assessed value divided by 100 times the current school tax rate of the 1.72. And then this is the average. So the average home is $288,906. So the average home would be $907 a year, or $75 a month.
Average home value came up in 1 year, and if you actually back up a slide, I think you have the total of the town. One more slide back.
Yes.
So the assessed values in Lacey came up $34 million in 1 year. It's good for selling your house, but if you don't want to sell, obviously, that's big dollars for little Lacey. I just wanted to note that. I just find that extraordinary. I don't think you see increases like that a lot. I'll talk these just a little bit. We presented these last time. It just shows our efficiencies. We'll put this up. We still continue to be the 8th lowest in per pupil cost among districts our size, 77th lowest in the state. That's at a 396. I mean,
656.
656. Thank you. 77th lowest at 656. We presented it the last time. There's just, this is insanely good, to the good, these next couple slides. Next one. 6th lowest in administrative costs, 13 lowest in the state out of 656. All right, what does this all mean? I'm going to read it. I don't normally do that. All right, tonight's resolution being considered by the board is seeking either the return of our money that they owe us. If they put the guardrails up on S2 to limit our losses to 3% a year, we'd still be $10 million to the good. That's the guardrail they put up this year, if you follow what the state did. They placed a guardrail on state losses just this year. If they had done that from the beginning of S2, we'd be $10 million to the good. We want that back. It's part of the resolution. Okay? Or advance us our state aid. We put in loan, but it's really an advancement. Advance us our state aid, the money that we need to balance our budget. Or we're going to make this application, it doesn't tie us to it, and I've made that clear in the next part, to raise the taxes. Because I can't even apply if there isn't a yes vote tonight, but that's their choice, and that's the community's choice as well. The Board of Education is not authorizing tonight that tax increase. We will continue to explore and exhaust all opportunities to recover lost state aid. Okay, if approved tonight, as advised by our executive county business administrator, there are no commitment if we do apply, but there's choices to be made here. That's what it all means. Okay, just full transparency.
That's it. Oh,
And then the
that's it.
dates, right?
Yep, so we'll submit the tentative budget to the executive county superintendent, submit the application to the commissioner. If it's approved, we'll continue to explore opportunities to increase revenue, decrease appropriations. May 7th will now be the public hearing date. Last time it was April 29th. We are moving it to May 7th. And May 15th is the drop dead deadline. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for that presentation. Before we go into public comment, Mr. Morgan, would you like to say anything to the public?
Yeah, I was just going to add, there's also, as part of this, I guess, opportunity that the state is making available to increase the levy beyond the 2% cap, they incentivize that by including tax levy incentive aid in the amount of 5% of the amount that the local community is willing to certify above the 2% cap. So that's where this $334,000 of tax levy incentive aid is in the resolution. That's aid that the state would be giving to incentivize districts to apply for this program. And I just want to mention that this is one of those moments, and it's been discussed numerous times, where it truly is the lesser of several evils, and there really is no good solution. So, I just want to put it out there that it's a problem that's not of the creation or making of anybody up on this dais. And, according to the state, on their funding formula, you guys are below adequacy, but you're also below your local share of what they deem the local community should be contributing to taxes. So as long as you're significantly below your local share, I think you're going to find that you're going to have these issues perennially, year after year, of having to plug these budget gaps as they continue to make off with your state aid. So it's, I know it's painful, but, there's a couple possibilities if it doesn't go through. And, one possibility is also the chance that, the Department of Ed might appoint a fiscal monitor if it turns out that you don't have sufficient revenues to close your budget gap. So there's a lot of considerations, but, this is just one of those things where there's no good options, but this is an option to at least present a balanced budget to the county office, and we know they're pushing us pretty hard for that. So I just wanted to add all that.
Thank you. Okay, we're now going to move into public comment. Any audience member wishing to make a comment will raise his or her hand when called upon and state their name, address, or affiliation and intention to make the statement. Comments will be addressed to the board president. Any comments will be made one issue at a time. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes. No audience member shall be recognized twice until all who have wished to comment be recognized. This portion of the meeting is for public comment only, and there will be no questions answered. The purpose of this board meeting is to perform our business in public. Anyone is entitled to a public comment. If there is a question for the board, there's an established chain of command. Who would like to speak first? Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. John Pinto, Forked River. All right. 5 minutes. All right, so I just have some notes here. I've been getting I've been talking to a lot of people in town. People have been messaging me privately with things, stuff like that, things to bring up, things to ask. Obviously, I'm not going to get any answers, but so just some of the things, I understand everything that you guys just showed us, and I get the position that you're in. If any of you know, I'm fighting the state with you. I'm trying to do stuff. I know that they're ripping us off. But I just want to make sure that we're looking at everything we can look at here. So, we're talking about this $6 million deficit. I saw that you guys are making cuts and everything like that. Maybe there's some out-of-the-box thinking that we can do, not making cuts, maybe doing something else. Some people have mentioned things to me around the 6-period stipend, that there's a lot of money to be saved there. The block scheduling, maybe that's not going. I mean, everybody wants to talk about these standardized tests and how they're really not a good gauge, which I understand. I know they're really not a good gauge. I get that. However, we have nothing else. Like, I have a question for, what's the average GPA of each school? What are the SAT scores, the average SAT scores? What's the graduation rate? What's the college acceptance rate? Why don't you present this stuff to the town? So that way we don't have to go by standardized testing. Show us that everything is performing better than that. So then we don't have to listen to people complain about the standardized testing, because I have teachers messaging me too, telling me that these standardized tests, a lot of the stuff on these tests, the kids haven't even learned yet. So, I mean, if that's the case, how are they going to do it? And I get it. Other districts are doing better. I get that. There's all dynamics that go into it. But, somebody else also spoke at one of the last meetings about how the middle school, these schedules are set up like a prison, these 84-minute classes, stuff like that. I remember when I went to school, it was like a 40-minute class. Sometimes the bell would ring. We weren't even done yet. We had to pack everything up and run out, right to the next one. And the energy's still going. I'm hearing that, some of these don't even teach for 84 minutes. Kids go on phones, whatever. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But either way, I know me personally, if I had to sit in a classroom for 84 minutes, it's a slow burn. I mean, at what rate are they really, like, what's the retention rate there? Like, how long are they really learning for? You know, with that, maybe, because people are saying that that could lower the budget, the expenses, if we adjust stuff like that too. Have we looked at this stuff? None of this requires cuts. It just requires reworking things. Someone also mentioned to me about Lacey Township. Is it true that we're the highest in special, like one of the highest rates of special education?
I think 26%, it's pretty high.
So someone mentioned along the lines of, have we reevaluated declassifying some kids that are in special education? Have they outgrown the needs for these things? Has that been looked into? Like, I'm just trying to think outside the box.
Yeah, it's constantly being assessed.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the other things as well, attendance rates. I hear that our attendance rates aren't always the best. Stuff like that. I mean, I guess that's really more of a home issue than a school issue. But, you know, the parents got to, we all got to work together to try to figure stuff out. And then one last thing, somebody raised an idea, and it's a consolidation idea. Well, I know this is a far-fetched one, but this is super out of the box. But what about entertaining consolidating, selling some of the schools off and building a K through 6 school, one big school, or renovate one of the properties into that? It cuts admins, it cuts principal salaries. It puts them all in one. Do we really need all these schools, being that our enrollment has dropped? I mean, with the current situation, this isn't a hot place for people to want to settle down and start a family with what's going on. So maybe that could be an option, maybe something we can look at. Forked River School, that's probably prime real estate. Can we sell it? Can we use it for something else? Can we landlord it? You got a better idea?
No, let's keep it.
And then also, I'd like to request too on the salaries for the athletics and the co-curricular. Can we get a separate line item for the salaries that go to that?
That's your 5
Hey,
minutes.
your 5 minutes are up. I know we're not supposed to go back and forth, but I do have some answers for you. The 6-period stipend is a contract issue, so that's not something we can just take out. That was one. The block scheduling, we looked into it extensively. The past 2 years, it actually cost us more, I think about $1 million and a half for the high school and a little less for the middle school, so it would not save us money. We did try that last year or the year before. Consolidation, if we consolidated the Forked River School, we keep looking into options. We're about 20 classrooms short, so we would have to go out for a referendum to build an extension on one of the schools. So we know how that went down with our last referendum. That would be increasing taxes. I don't think that would pass, but we don't have the space right now to take everybody and put them in. The teachers' staff would follow. So we would save on, one-time sale, property sale, but other than that, it would cost the taxpayers more to do the extension if they wanted to, yeah. So I don't think that would pass, though, to be honest. I don't think, so those are your answers. Okay. Yeah, keep coming with your suggestions, though. We appreciate it. Okay, anybody else like to have a public comment? Yes. Sure, go ahead, Richard.
Richard Bidnick, Lacey Citizens for Responsible Government. Okay, a couple of things. Let's think outside of the box. This school district is the Titanic. It's sinking quite fast, actually. Has been sinking for the last several years. Some of us want accountability for, you can't blame the state for all of this because, quite frankly, we knew about these cuts coming over the years. And the board negotiated contracts it knew it could not afford. I'm sorry to say this, but it's the fact. And we know who benefited from those contracts. The $4.2 million in extra taxes that you got last year from the 9.9% increase, we know where all that money went. Okay, so let's be clear about this. And I don't mean to be nasty, but we have a financial crisis, okay? So my solution to the problem is that the people who benefited from that 9.9% tax increase need to come to the table. At a meeting last year, I asked the teachers' union to go halfway with the public, and they absolutely refused. You banged on tables, you screamed, cut off the mic when I was speaking, totally disrespectful to the people in the town who are suffering. And I want everybody to remember, we have 25% of our households are living under the poverty level. 20% are on food stamps. And who is speaking for them besides myself right now? So my point is, I'm putting this out there, and this is for the board because basically, since the board doesn't have the guts to do this, I'm going to do it. On behalf of the taxpayers of Lacey Township, the union should take a 10% cut in your salary for 1 year. Yes, laugh. Of course, this is exactly what we would expect.
Just address me, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
10% cut. We gave you 9.9% increase last year in our taxes, okay? And you sit here and you laugh. You are so disrespectful. And this is what is teaching our children in our schools these days. So quite frankly, let's be frank about this. You've got how much? $18 million is going for your health insurance. Why am I paying for your
Richard,
family
please address
members?
me.
Why are we paying for their family members? Why are we not just covering the employee? And if they want to cover their family, they can pay for it. Why are we negotiating contracts like this where you're doing this when we don't have the money? You have a contract right now that's going to be renegotiated? Well, seriously, we have to look at all of these things. And I'm sorry that somebody has to be so firm on behalf of the taxpayers to speak, but I am speaking for the taxpayers because we are fed up. There's no accountability. The school district has not been performing well. The tests show it, and I don't care what anybody says, there's excuses. Why are certain school districts performing at the highest level year after year after year, and we are not? Why is our administration not looking at every one of these schools and figuring out what they are doing and what we're not doing? Has anybody done that? No, of course not. That might require too much work. But the fact of the matter is that my group, the citizens, Lacey Citizens for Responsible Government, we want accountability. And I want accountability from all of this board. I want you to admit publicly that you have failed because you negotiated contracts you knew you could not afford. And it is time for this body to take personal responsibility for what we may be inflicted with, which may be another 12.9% tax increase on top of the 9.9% tax increase that was inflicted on us last year. And the people who are benefiting from this, look, this is the option. There's another option. If the union says no, cut the jobs. Just cut. Make it point to the bank. Either you're going to work with us and take the salary decrease, or we're going to cut the positions. And we are not required to have sports in schools, okay? We do not have to have a football team. We do not have to have extra football coaches. The only thing that is required is education. This is the Board of Education, okay? So if we have to make tough decisions, those are the things that are going to need to be looked at and evaluated. And I'm sorry if some people might be offended by my tone and what I'm saying, but some of us are really fed up, and we want accountability. Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, Jen Bentley, Fork River. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Jen Bentley, and I'm a third grade teacher at Lanoka Harbor School and also the vice president of the LTI. Usually I prepare and share with you all the good things that are happening in the schools on behalf of our LTA, but tonight I would like to address the amount of misinformation that is currently circulating. I am also here to ask the board to help us in this quest to share accurate information with the public. In many recent social media posts, it has been mentioned that teachers need to make concessions to help with aid with the school budget. But I really don't think the public is aware of the number of Lacey school employees that are also Lacey residents. At Lanoka Harbor staff alone, 55% of our staff lives in Lacey. In addition, 35% of the staff are Lacey graduates, and 44% of the staff have children who have attended or attend Lacey schools. I happen to be not only a resident, but a taxpayer, a graduate, and a proud parent of 2 Lacey graduates. I am Lacey, and we together, the LTI, we are Lacey. We are all not only feeling the tax burden, but also the uncertainty of our job status and the quality of education we can provide for our students. The problems our district is facing are not just the problems of the LTA or the Board of Education, they are town-wide problems. We will not be able to resolve these issues moving forward if misinformation is spread. I would ask all the residents to consider gathering information from our Lacey School website and attending board meetings. Moving forward, I hope that we can work and come together. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment? Go ahead.
Michael Ryan, President of the Lacey Township Education Association. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Lacey Board of Education. Thank you for gathering here tonight to address the budget and the shortages that are affecting our schools, our students, and our future. Today, we are talking about a school budget, cuts, and the issues that have been challenging our district and one that requires our urgent attention. For many years, we have seen a steady decline provided to our schools. While there are always budgetary constraints, it is crucial that we remember that education is not just an expense, but an investment in our children, in their potential, and the future of our society. The impact of these cuts can be seen in various aspects of our schools. First and foremost, class sizes are increasing. Teachers are being asked to manage more students, often with fewer resources and support. This makes it harder for educators to give each student the individual attention they need to thrive. In a crowded classroom, it's more difficult to ensure students' needs are met, whether they need extra help or a challenge to stay engaged. Furthermore, extracurricular programs, which are often the heart and soul of a student's experience, may be cut or reduced. Art, music, sports, and after-school clubs provide with opportunities to explore passions, develop new skills, and build their confidence. These activities are not just extras. They are an integral part of a well-rounded education that foster creativity, teamwork, and leadership. We may also be looking at cuts in teachers and essential support staff positions. These professionals play a crucial role in creating a safe, supportive, and effective learning environment. When we reduce funding for these roles, we are inadvertently neglecting the mental, emotional, and academic well-being of our students. We cannot continue to balance the budget on the backs of staff cuts. There just aren't any more positions to cut. Let's also not forget our infrastructure. Aging buildings, outdated technology, and limited resources make it harder for schools to keep up with the demands of a modern education. How can we expect our students to be prepared for the future when not staying up to date with our facilities and our technologies? But the most troubling part of these budget cuts is what they represent: a lack of prioritization of our children's futures. Education should be our most important investment, as it is the foundation for a thriving, innovative, and successful society. When we cut funding to schools, we are cutting off opportunities for our children. We are telling them that their education is not a priority and that their success doesn't matter. So what can we do? First and foremost, we need to advocate. We need to raise our voices, whether it's by speaking at our local government representatives, attending school board meetings, or organizing community campaigns. We need to make it clear that we value education and that the future of our children is worth every penny of investment. Second, we must come together as a community. Parents, teachers, students, and local businesses must unite to support our schools in every way possible. Whether it's volunteering time, fundraising, or donating resources, we all have a part to play in ensuring that our schools remain vibrant and strong. Finally, we must continue to emphasize the importance of education in our community. We must push for policy changes at the local, state, and federal levels that ensure funding for schools is not just maintained, but increased. We must demand that education is seen as an essential part of our community's growth and prosperity. In closing, let me remind you that the decisions we make today will affect the lives of countless students in the years to come. Our schools are the incubators for the next generation of leaders, innovators, and change makers. We cannot afford to let budget cuts undermine their potential. Together, let's fight for the future of our children and ensure that they have the staff, the tools, the resources, and opportunities that they need to succeed.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Denise, Forked River. We're all taxpayers here. We're all concerned. I'm trying to speak on behalf of myself and a bunch of seniors that are in this community. We all know that some of them obviously don't have kids in the school district now. They're on a fixed income. My taxes are through the roof. There's maybe something we can do, some kind of, each project can be some kind of fundraiser, even if it's a small one. We have contractors in this town that are fathers and parents. Maybe we can work with them somehow. I know it seems far-fetched, but I've done a lot of fundraising and I've done a lot of things like that. So if you open up to different suggestions, maybe we can get something done. I'm sorry, the health issue, I do feel very strongly. I don't mind paying for a teacher to have her health issues, but her whole family, I don't get my health issues paid for. My roof leaks. If my roof leaks, is anybody gonna help me or any other senior in this town? It doesn't work that way. I have a budget, the seniors have a budget, and they have to live off that budget. And now you're trying to suck us for more money after the 9%, and I get the education. Not, believe me when I tell you, education, teachers, I love them, God willing. But you have to take responsibility. You guys have the budget. You guys are doing this, okay? You have to communicate with us and see how we can do this. Every taxpayer is going to be hit again. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do the things I like to do. Like, I like to donate to the fire department, the police department, EMS. I won't be even able to do that. Or any of you are going to look at any of them and tell them that they're not going to get that little $50, $100 that a bunch of us seniors usually do give them? So we got to be fair here. We got to be fair with everybody's concerned. We got to be fair. We got to be open. We got to be honest. I do agree with both sides over here, but there's got to be accountability and there's got to be reasonings. I'm a bookkeeper, so I look at the numbers, I look at the suggestions, I look at all that, and this state is killing us. I do know that. But maybe each and every one of you, call them up, write letters, call your congressmen, call your senators. I've been to Trenton. I've done all that legal work. It's a bull crap, it's a headache and everything, but we need to do something. We're drowning here. Our town is drowning. And nobody seems to be like, here, this is what I want you to give me, 9%. Here, this is what I want you to pay. Again, if you come to my house and fix anything in my house and help me with that, I'll give you the 9% tomorrow. But you go to every senior and ask them what I heard and the cries and the tears that I hear from them. You don't even want to know. You can't look at them in the face and you can't say to them, it's going to be okay. You don't have to sell your house. You don't have to worry about food. This is what this is coming to in this town that I've been here for over, because I'm young, long time. It really hurts me. And I'm appalled on what we're going through. This is Lent. I want to bring in religion, but you know what? This is why I'm up here, because I pray every day for each and every one of you to look at us, help us, let the teachers take care of the kids, but we really need to pay attention and help everybody. And all I can say is please keep the communication open. These people have a lot to say, just like you guys. We all have opinions. Somebody's got good suggestions, and they're very good suggestions, I hate to tell you. We got to open our eyes and be big adults and put our pants on and listen to everybody. And I understand we're in a jam. So let's see how we can work this out, and let's see what we can do. And please think about all these seniors and see if you can talk to them and see if you can look at them in the face. And I'll take each and every one of you with me. I will. That'll be a promise. Or I'll have them come to you, because I can't do this anymore. I can't look at them and hear that they can't eat, they can't pay their taxes, and they got to leave their house. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. And we do welcome all suggestions, so you can email us, come to the podium if you like. We're open to anything, and we would love to hear it. Go ahead, Ron.
Ron Martin, Forked River. I have an observation. There were several good points that were made this evening by both parties, Board of Ed and by members of the audience. One of the things I was thinking of is that in my career, we had two unions we had to deal with. And one of the things that we strove to do is to eliminate any adversarial relationship. It proved to be extremely productive. I would ask if it's possible for the union to help us with not only the State Department of Education, but to ask them to be their ombudsman for seeking the funds that rightfully belong to Lacey. If we do that, then all parties win. But I would hope that that is a possible reality, because everyone would stand to benefit. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. Dan Fusco from like 701 Signal Street in Lacey, over here. I want to thank everybody for what they do. I know there's a lot of teachers in the audience, so thank all the teachers and everything. I have one question. When the state withdrew all that funding from us, did they give a reason why they gave that, or they just took it? Do we know? I know that there's.
It was
you don't have to answer,
legislation.
but-
It was legislation called S2 legislation. It was something that they did over 7 years.
Okay, and part of that, I think, 2008 budget, how they divvy out the funding. I know they weight students by different degrees, like if you're a high-risk student and all that stuff. Do we recalculate our students on how they're doing that? Perhaps maybe we could do that and get additional funding. It sounds like our scores are going down, so I don't know if that's something that could be thought about.
I'm not really sure what you're asking.
So like, I think in the 2008 budget, I was just reading it, but if you're a high-risk student, you get 0.6, you're weighted at like 0.6, whereas a normal student's weighted at like 0.4 or something like that, and that goes into a formula calculation that provides additional funding to our district.
Special education?
No, there's also special education.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
say you're just like an individual that's more likely to go hungry or something like that, right? You're
Okay.
at risk, and I think that provides a student additional per pupil funding. So I don't know how that we classify that. The definition, it wasn't included in the budget on how they classify students like that. And the definition is pretty vague, so I wonder if it's actually kind of easier to get some more students in there, you know what I'm saying? But that's just one thought. And then it sounds like, Mr. Zielinski, you've been doing a fantastic job with some efficiency stuff. So I appreciate that. And while that is the case, and I do appreciate everything the students do, it does look like the largest line item is obviously, teacher salaries. So what I would hate to see is if we take another loan, because we're already paying $2 million to service debt, right? I would hate to see this kick the can down the road, right? We have to balance the budget at least 1 year. While I know everyone would suffer for that, including the students, right? We can increase efficiency to such a point, right? And everything's fine, right? But everyone's really suffering, right? But the state doesn't see that because inside our numbers, we're still maintaining a good teacher to student average. Maybe our test scores haven't gone down so far, right? Everything looks good on paper, but until something kind of breaks, the state won't help us out anymore, you know what I'm saying? So it might be in like this particular case, best to let it fail so we can have a better argument going forward with additional funding. So the years after, we could be in a better place and rehire perhaps positions, something like that. Just food for thought.
Okay,
I
thank you.
appreciate it.
Would anybody else like to speak? Go ahead.
Debbie Gubernat-Smith of Orchid River. I am here as a parent. I have 3 children that graduated from Lacey. I have one currently in Lacey, and I am also a taxpayer. 7 or 8 years ago, I sat in 4 different meetings at 4 different school levels of PTA meetings with Dr. Pereira and Mr. DeGeorge at that time. They sat there and gave us the explanation of the S2 funding, how we were going to have a decrease, how it was going to affect the schools. They wanted all of the different PTAs to band together, to reach out to the parents, to write letters to the state, and how we were going to fund the formula. How are they funding the formula? We've been hearing that for years. Basically, it seems like all that's been done is we are kicking the can down the road, and now our backs are up against the wall. So last year, it was a 9.9% increase. This year, you want it to be 14.2. Well, what happens next year when we still don't have the funding, we're still up against the wall, and you want to increase this again? We're now at 25% for the last 2 years. That's a lot of money. And that money comes at the stress of the family. And everybody says it's for the kids, and we're doing this for the kids. But when you create financial stress in people's homes, all it does is create stress on the family as a whole, and it hurts the children in the long run. So I know you can't answer the questions, but I would like to know, why are we even giving the state the option of including that out, that we're increasing the taxes, rather than fighting for the funding? Because if you're giving the state the option, just like last year when you did the 9.9% increase, you sent a message to the state of, we're just going to throw the burden onto the taxpayers. And you're basically telling them, okay, we did it once, we're going to have you do it again. So if we submit an application and we tell the state, well, it's going to be our last resort, but we can always increase the taxes 14.2%, you're sending another message to the state to say, don't worry, we're just going to burden our taxpayers even further. And then next year, we're going to be in the same damn position. And in a couple years down the road, when the state pulls the funding for the pre-K or all the grants for the pre-K program, we're really going to be in trouble, because they're eventually going to end that gravy train, and now we're all going to be stuck paying for pre-K. So somewhere along the lines, we have to stand up to the state and say, we cannot bend anymore. You have to figure it out. You cannot burden the taxpayers. You can't cut any more staff. We can't have any more leaking roofs. The state has to come in and figure out something that we have to do. So my argument is, leave that option out of that application, or let this whole process fail. Let the process fail and put the states back up against the wall instead of the taxpayers or the teachers. So we need to figure out something that the state has to be accountable, because I do think that the can has been kicked down the road for the last couple of years, but I do understand our backs are up against the wall. So that is, I did have a couple notes here. Just want to make sure I hit all my things. Because I do believe that a lot of it is fear-mongering from the states. They're going to tell us that they're going to shut down schools. They're not going to shut down the schools. They're going to tell us they're going to fire the teachers. They're not going to do that either. Let them figure out how to do it. If they are the ones that are pulling all the funding, it makes the entire state look poor if all of our school systems are poor. So let them figure out how to do it instead of keep throwing the burden onto the taxpayers. And I would like to know how, I know you can't answer this because you can't answer questions, but I will follow up later, that I would like to know how block scheduling is less expensive for the district rather than a traditional schedule.
Blocks, yeah. Go ahead, you want to comment on that?
Just call my office, we'll talk about block
Okay.
versus regular schedule.
All right,
You know where to find me.
I do know.
Yeah.
And I believe I've hit all my points. Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you. Would anybody else like to speak before we vote? No? Okay, I'm going to close public comment. Okay, we are now superintendent comment. Do you have anything? Okay.
I always do.
All right.
Just want to remind everybody that I'm the chief school administrator, so my comments are very pointed. The financial reality of our school district is clear. According to the state of New Jersey calculations, we operate with a significant deficit, over $17 million below the determined adequacy level. This underfunding is further evident by our local contribution, which falls below the calculated fair share as defined by the state. This persistent situation exists despite a decade of responsible fiscal management, characterized by consistent adherence to the 2% maximum tax levy increase, except for last year. Therefore, the resolution before the Board of Education tonight is a strategic measure, is what I'm putting forward to have them vote on, to explore viable budgetary solutions, specifically the submission of an application to exceed that mandated 2% tax levy cap. This action is necessitated by a current funding gap of $6.681867 million, the minimum required to provide the legally mandated, thorough and efficient education for our students. Approval of this application would grant the district the authority, not the obligation, to exceed the 2% cap and allow us to qualify for a tax levy incentive. Granted, it's not that much money, but it would be $334,000. A possible step to mitigate our existing shortfall that a lot of you have mentioned tonight. We've already operated with significant efficiency, eliminating over 150 staff positions and reducing supply budgets by 50% in some areas. As a result, our per pupil expenditure remains some of the lowest in districts for our size. The 10-year average increase in the general fund expenditure, 10-year average increase, is 1.58% here in Lacey. Make that clear. That's how efficient we are, which includes the almost 7% increase planned in this budget. That includes the large increase. I've lost my place. All right, and I made my own note here that I got criticized for today. For those paying attention, that is far less than the pace of inflation. Addressing the immediate $6.6 million gap would still leave our district operating $10 million below the state's adequacy target. This clearly indicates that our funding challenges are not internal, but a direct consequence of state aid reductions through the current funding formula. Here's kind of the warning part. Failing to approve this resolution carries substantial risks, jeopardizing local control of our educational system and potentially still resulting in a tax increase. Under the current tax levy, a balanced budget would necessitate the elimination of an additional 49 teaching and administrator positions, increasing class sizes to 45 students in most grades, along with the loss of all remaining courtesy busing and academy programs at the high school, as well as all sports and extracurricular activities. These losses would be detrimental to our students and certainly would be detrimental to the community and your home values. Investing in our schools is a calculated investment in our future, driving economic growth, property values, and the development of a skilled workforce that we all depend on. Just last year, to address some of the other concerns, we saw some of the highest SAT scores and AP scores, which we report out every October. That presentation is available on our website for those who missed it. As well as the high school climbing 33 spots just the other day, according to the latest performance ranking among New Jersey high schools. That's just in 1 year. That's New Jersey rankings. That's not U.S. news yet. We haven't seen that yet. Math and ELA students also scored some of the highest achievements on the NJSLA, improvements over those horrible COVID years. Additionally, we've also met some math targets. You can also see that in our performance report. The assertion that our students' academic performance doesn't warrant financial support is a disservice to their potential and the broader societal benefits of education. Academic performance is influenced by a multitude of factors: socioeconomic backgrounds, access to resources, and the very financial support being questioned. Okay, reducing investment at any performance level risks creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. It hinders improvement and limits opportunities for our students to succeed. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on to board member comments. I'll start. Our vote tonight does not come without controversy and consequences. About 3 weeks ago, we voted on a tentative budget with a passing budget, 7-0, with a land sale to fill the gap. We were advised by our county BA to use this strategy, which she denied last week. Now we have a hole of $7 million and need to pass a tentative budget again. This is why we are here tonight. We were presented with an application last week by the DOE to help us fill the gap. If we accept this application, we will be awarded over $300,000. I attended a call this week with our county ECBO, Mr. Zielinski and Ms. Ormsby. She did not allow our board attorney to join. No reason given, just no. No other guidance was given to help fill the gap except this application. I discussed with her at length our concerns about our community struggling daily to make ends meet, as it is, and how we imposed a 9.9% increase last year. She was also aware, I made her aware, that we have no confidence or trust in our governor and his lack of leadership. The overall response was we, the taxpayers, are not paying enough. Based on the opinion of the state and the new formula, Lacey Township is underfunded by 29%, $17 million. We need 14.2% this year to fill our current gap. I did ask what happens if we do not pass this vote tonight. Her response was, we have a fiduciary responsibility to pass one. She will tell us to go back and try again until we can pass one. She also noted that there will be no extension on this application. Monday is the deadline. We also discussed that around February or March of this coming year, we will run out of money, and most likely a state monitor will come in, and we will have to pay that state monitor about $200,000 to $300,000. It was also mentioned cutting staff is no longer an option because she recognized we were not able to provide a thorough and efficient education. As of this year, increased state funding cannot be awarded more than 6% over last year's aid. We were eligible for more, but unable to collect because of the cap. Also, they could not cut aid more than 3% from last year. If this was put in place during our S2 cuts, we would not be in this position today. They cut us faster than we could raise taxes while strapped with the 2% cap. Think about that. If we were not cut less than 3% a year, we would have an extra $10 million today. A no vote today on this application may have significant consequences. We have always passed a tentative budget. No guidance was given except, quote, it will be bad. I have been on this board for 5 years. Every year we cut millions of dollars out of our budget due to significant aid cuts. We are now at rock bottom. I believe we have a responsibility to our district to have a plan. As of today, this is our only plan and no fault of our own. While I will never give up the fight, I believe keeping local control far outweighs state control. I believe taking out a loan will only sink our taxpayers when they go to sell their home, and that was expressed to me in abundance. Would you move to a town like Lakewood who has endless loans with interest? I don't think so. Our debt will grow year after year with a loan and no way to pay it in full. Also, the payment will be built in our operating budget. So once again, less money for us. I believe more importantly, it's my responsibility as an elected representative to look at the whole picture and not my personal ones. With that being said, I believe there's only 3 options. 1, apply for this application, take the awarded extra $300,000, only use what we need if money comes in. 2, a Band-Aid approach, apply to take out a loan and forever be in debt with a monitor, lose local control. It's not a long-term solution. It's a long-term problem, and they may actually deny that application. 3, decrease staff by 50. I'm sorry, but over 40 kids in the classroom is not even an option to me, and the ECBO said we couldn't do it. But a state monitor could come in and take that all away from us. If this gets voted down tonight, I'm asking all the board members who vote no to have a detailed, viable solution. We are open to all ideas. Please present them tonight during your comments or call Mr. Conity, our finance chair, tomorrow before our finance committee meeting so we can discuss it. We also need ideas that we can control, are measurable, and allow us to evaluate, because we need to come back and vote again and again until we have a balanced, tentative budget. And then our final budget will be in May. That's all I have. Okay. Linda, would you like to start with your comment?
Kim, I have nothing written.
Okay.
I was more listening to everybody, and I was appalled, actually, when I had conversation with Kim about her conversation with the county superintendent. And I think it was it you that, yes. Sorry, what is your name again? John. John, I was looking at this, and this is amazing what you put together here. And it kind of shows the whole picture, doesn't it? It does. So advocacy is really important. And I mean, Kim was on the phone
Days.
with them for 8, and I kept saying to her, but, and she said, nope, she just said, raise taxes, raise taxes. It just seems to be what the state wants, to raise taxes. We just have to keep fighting. And I know a lot of you in this audience went to Trenton last year. We had students that went to Trenton last year, but they're really not listening to us. We've talked to the township committee. Bobby's here. They know what's going on. They tried to help. It's just a bad situation. I have nothing positive to say, Kim.
I know. Okay. Well, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're right.
Okay. Mr. Armato? Linda, are you finished?
Yes. I
Okay.
am.
Mr. Armato,
Kim.
please.
It's like deja vu all over again. I want to be very clear. I support our students, I support our teachers, and I support our schools. I recognize that our district is facing a funding shortfall, but that shortfall is largely due to the inadequate support from the state and not because of our community isn't doing its part. I understand the temptation to fill the gap with a local tax increase, but I don't believe that should be our first solution. We have the opportunity to take a loan. Many families in our district are already struggling with high costs, and I don't think it's fair to ask them to carry even more of a burden while the state continues to underfund public education. I'm going to vote no on this tax increase because I believe we need to hold the state accountable and demand the funding our schools deserve. Until we see serious efforts to address this at the state level, and until we've exhausted every opportunity to tighten our budget and spend more wisely, I cannot in good conscience ask our taxpayers to pay more. A lot of people want to bring the fight. We went to the fight last year. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. But I can, in good conscience, look at you and or my neighbors and say, we're raising your taxes 14.2%. Let me bring a real reality to it. Where I live, the average house is anywhere between $400,000 and $500,000 assessed. That's $4,500 a year. That's $4,500 a year that they're taking out of your budget. That's 14.2% that they're taking out of your budget. That's now a hamburger that turns into a cold cut dinner. That's going to the movies and downloading another stream for something. That's going to the Pelican Snowball in the summer and making your own ice. There's an impact to this. There's an impact to this. And I urge my fellow board members to take a stand and not just do what the state asks us to do, but to fight back. To fight back and say no. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bell?
All right, many of you know last year I did vote for the raising of the taxes. Had to bear that myself too. But we did say I said last year I will not do it again. And so I'm kind of staying with Sal here. One gentleman said it's a sinking ship. I'm along for the ride. We'll go down. I used this illustration earlier. If you've seen the Titanic, as it's going down, there's people jumping and fighting for their lives, and there's some guys just singing. That's me. I'm just going to sing as it goes. There's a process. It'll play out. We'll see how things go. And I do appreciate this town. I appreciate the board members, all the work that has gone in, the cuts, the trimming here and the trimming there. I think everybody's doing everything they can, but I do believe that it's time to push back on the state and just make them step in. And so that's where I stand.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Armato?
So as a board member, I took an oath to serve the students, staff, and taxpayers of this community. I cannot and will not support a 14.2% tax increase, especially after a 9.9% hike last year, nearly 25% in 2 years. That's financial punishment, not progress. A yes vote legitimizes a broken system and gives the state exactly what it wants. No pushback, no accountability. Voting no is not about chaos, it's about leadership. This is not just a budget issue, it's a moral one. The state is intentionally underfunding us, then forcing local boards like ours to do its dirty work. They're betting we'll quietly comply and keep passing the burden to hardworking taxpayers while they dodge accountability, and that's manipulation, that's not leadership. And some people say, your job is to fight for the students, not the taxpayers. But the truth is, our taxpayers are the parents and the grandparents of these students. If they're taxed out of their homes, how does that help the kids? When families are forced to leave town or cut back on basics, forget about movies, how about electric bills? The children feel it. Stability at home is key to student success. We can't separate the well-being of students from the well-being of their families. A 14.2% tax hike will break families, and that breaks our kids. We've been told voting no would be bad for the district. But let's be clear about what happens when we take the stand. What happens if we vote no? The schools will not shut down. Payroll and operations continue. The county superintendent may step in temporarily, but it often leads to negotiations or emergency aid. Voting no forces the state to face the crisis it created, and it gives us a chance to demand fair funding. In worst case scenario, the district may need to take a loan. But the truth is, a loan can be repaid, even if it's with interest. But a 14.2% tax sticks. It becomes our new baseline, setting up more increases year after year after year. It's not going to end. Kim said 29%. It's not going to stop. It'll be 14%, and it'll continue until it's 29% or more. I don't even know how anybody can sustain that. The state's broken funding formula should not be balanced on the backs of our residents. Year after year, the burden will fall on the taxpayers. And let's stop pretending raising taxes is a responsible option. It's the easy option. It avoids tough decisions and shifts the cost onto you, the people who are already stretched thin, and that's not leadership. This is not our failure, it's the state's. Every year we say yes, the state wins, and our residents lose. But what they don't expect is resistance, and I urge my fellow board members to stand with me. A united no vote sends a clear message. We will not be pawns in a game that breaks our community to protect a broken system. We demand real funding, real solutions, and real respect for the communities we serve. Let this be the year we stop doing the state's dirty work and start doing right by our people. The worst case scenario isn't voting no. It's doing nothing and allowing the cycle to continue year after year after year. We didn't run for this position to be rubber stamps. We ran to stand up, and voting no protects our community from a system that's already failed us. But I want to be totally transparent because Sharon was kind enough to put the tax assessed at $288,906. So that was an annual increase of $908.04. A $300,000 home, that annual increase is $1,098, which is $91 a month. A $400,000 home is $2,818, which is $234 a month. A $500,000 home, $4,538, which is $378 a month. Those are car payments. That's all I have, but I just want to, this affects renters, so if you rent and you don't own in this town, you'll see an increase. It'll be passed down. If you own a small business that's already struggling, this drives up rent and overhead, and that will impact our local community. So again, this is not a moral issue. This is a moral issue. It's not just a financial one. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Peters, any comment?
Me?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. So
I'm not a big speechwriter guy. I'm pretty much coming from the gut, from the heart, where I feel about this. And I'm a man of my word. I probably know about 90% of the people in the stands right now, and you'll never know what I'm thinking, because I'm going to let you know what I'm thinking. And last year when I said, you know, I approved the 9.9%, I said, that's it. This is just a quick Band-Aid, and I'm not going to do it again, and I'm sticking to that word. Unfortunately, Mr. Dan Bell, I'm not a very good singer, but I'm singing right next to you. So I'm going to be a hard no on this. I do not feel the taxpayer should have to pay for what the state of New Jersey has done to this district. It is not fair. It is not fair by any means whatsoever. So I'm definitely a hard no on this.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Conity.
A lot of it's all been said already, and I'm in Koreans at the majority here. But the questions come up, who is the county business administrator? She's an employee of the State Department of Education, not a county employee. Yes, exactly. And they were on a call at the end of last week. She was extremely adamant not to let our attorney on the call. Why? Was she trying to hide or sneak around? Her overall insinuation, which kind of irked me, well, really did, is the residents of Lacey Township can afford the tax increase. She doesn't live here. I've been here for 41 years now. I've never seen her. It's an invite to her. Come to Lacey. Let's go take a walk. From the $1 million houses to ones that are in total disrepair. Let's go knock on those doors and see who can afford it. The thing that scares the hell out of me by not applying is this year we need the 14.25. To make us whole would be 29%, according to the state's skewed spreadsheets from numbers probably 7, 8 years ago. If we don't approve the application to be submitted, I fear, which I talked about, is that they come back and hit us with 29% right off the bat. I know I'm not getting that in my pay raises. So 29% on top of the 9.9, on top of the township tax increase, on top of the county increase, on top of the utility increases. Who the math? But shy of reiterating how everybody else mostly set up here, I'm going to be a no for the wording here tonight. We were asked to do a budget to be held March, and under the direction of the county BA, Ms. Ormsby, Mr. Zelensky worked on it and put figures in there to plug the 6.6 via land sale. That's what the county BA told us. We do all that, we all voted on it, submitted it to her. Yeah, no, that's not gonna work. 24, 48 hours later, oh, surprise, here's a memo from the state. You could apply to increase the taxes. It's a game to them. It's over here, hopefully. So,
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to new business. We are going to vote on the adoption of the amended tentative budget for 2025-26 school year. Can I have a roll call, please?
motion.
A motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please. Any discussion before we vote?
Just a comment if I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
If this does not go through, by the sounds of it's going to, I urge the people sitting up here to shoot me an email by Monday at the absolute latest on recommendations, solutions, proposals, whatever it is that you want to call it, to right this ship. I don't mind going in the ocean, but
That's good. I agree.
thank you.
Okay. Ready? Yep, go ahead.
Mr. Amato?
No.
Mr. Peters?
No.
Mr. Bell?
No.
Mrs. Armato?
No.
Mrs. Walker?
No.
Mr. Conity?
No.
Mrs. Claus?
I am voting yes for the application. I feel right now it's our only option. Doesn't matter because it's a no vote. But we will be back again to do another tentative budget. So hopefully we'll have more information. Email us too if you have ideas. We would love to hear it. We might have an emergency meeting, so check the website for any announcements. Okay? Frequently. Okay, we're going to close the meeting. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.